There is a graveyard in your pocket, and most people carrying these wallets have no idea they are holding a headstone. Right now, there is a brand still on the shelf, still stitched onto leather, still doing over $1 billion a year, that is quietly bleeding out while the logo keeps smiling at you from the display case. Nobody ran an obituary. The name just kept hanging on the rack, and you kept assuming somebody was still home. That is the trick. A wallet brand almost never dies by going dark and disappearing. What dies is the thing that made it worth carrying, and then the name gets propped up on top of the grave and sold back to you at the old price, sometimes higher. The label outlives the maker by decades, and almost nobody tells you which one you are actually buying. So here are 7 wallet brands that died and nobody told you. For each one, I will show you what it actually was, the moment the soul left, and what wears the name today. One playbook keeps showing up behind these deaths, the same move run over and over by different hands, and by the end you will know exactly why the tag on your wallet stopped meaning anything. We are counting down to the one you almost certainly think is still alive. Number 7 is a company that died for doing the right thing, which is the kind of death nobody warns you about. Amity. Robert Rolfs founded it in 1915, and for the better part of a century, Amity and its sister label Rolfs were what a working man carried when he wanted a wallet that outlived the pants. At its height, this was one of the biggest leather goods makers in the country, and it owned the middle of the American wallet market, the exact slice where most people actually shop. This was the everyday billfold, handed across the counter at the drugstore and then riding a back pocket for 20 years. These were not delicate objects for a display case. A man bought one in his 30s and it was still closing clean when he handed it down to his kid, and that longevity was the entire brand. They told you so right on the ads. In the late 1980s, they built an entire campaign around a single line: "Good things last. Buy it once and stop thinking about it." Then the 80s and 90s turned, and the whole industry started shipping production overseas to chase cheap labor. Amity said no, on the record. Their leadership took the position that they could not hold their quality if they sent the work to the other side of the world, so they stayed and kept making the thing that built the name. And that is close to what buried them. Cheaper wallets flooded in from factories that did not care about any of it. The designs got copied and undercut, and a company that refused to cut the corner got crushed under 100 companies that were happy to. They rebranded to AR Accessories, trying to outrun it. And by the late 90s, they filed for bankruptcy and the lights went out. Hold on to that name, because you are about to watch 6 brands make the opposite choice and survive as hollow versions of themselves. Your grandfather carried number 6, and you have probably held it without ever knowing what it was. Prince Gardner. If you grew up in America in the middle of the last century, this was the billfold. It came out of St. Louis, a real leather house, and it was the men's wallet that showed up in Christmas boxes and graduation envelopes for decades. Solid, unshowy, built to be used and abused. This was carry gear before anybody thought to put the letters E, D, and C on it. And for a working man, it was the default, the way a certain slim aluminum wallet is the default now. The turn came in 1966, and it is a turn you are going to get very familiar with tonight. Prince Gardner got bought. A larger accessories outfit called Swank took it over. One of those men's accessory houses that collected brands the way some people collect debt. And for a while the name kept moving on volume alone. But a name owned by a conglomerate is a line on a spreadsheet, and spreadsheets get pruned. Sales slid through the 80s, and by 1989 Swank cut it loose. The trademark limped on by itself for a few more years, and somewhere around the mid-90s Prince Gardner simply stopped being a company that made anything. No announcement, it just was not there one day. And here is the strange part, the part you can go verify in about a minute. Look at what a clean vintage Prince Gardner billfold goes for right now, and look at who is buying them. Not collectors putting them behind glass, carriers. A barber I know runs one his father left him, older than I am, and it has outlasted every new wallet he has tried to replace it with. When the dead version gets carried harder than anything living, the death was real, and so was the thing that died. Number 5 is the one I am going to defend, because its story does not end like the others, and pretending it does would be a lie. Gurkha. Founded in 1975, and through the 80s and 90s this was the leather the Wall Street crowd carried. The old money inherited this look, made in America and priced like it. Genuinely beautiful work. Then came the churn. This brand got sold, and sold and sold again, 4 times over, and that churn is its own kind of poison for a leather house. Every new owner buys into flip, so every new owner trims to make the numbers look good for the next buyer. And the corner that gets cut is always the one you cannot see from the shelf. Somewhere in that shuffle, the work went to China while the price stayed high, the name coasting entirely on a reputation the workshop no longer earned. Under one stretch of ownership, you had pieces running somewhere around $500 to $700. Made overseas, sold on pure heritage. In 2018, it went bankrupt outright. And then it did something almost none of these other brands did. New owners bought the wreck and brought the work back home. They reshored it, production returning to the United States, some of it to the brand's original Connecticut roots. And the goods got genuinely good again. Bringing the work back home is a move you almost never see in this business because it costs more and it runs slower, and most owners would rather keep milking a name than rebuild the thing standing behind it. The catch is the price came home too, and now you are looking at pieces well into the thousands. So Gurkha is not a corpse. It is the rare one that got resurrected. But it earns its spot here anyway, because for about a decade in the middle there, the name was doing exactly what a dead brand does, charging you for a ghost. If you bought one in that window, you paid for a legend the product had already walked away from. The lesson holds even when the ending is a happy one. Somebody is already typing at me about number 4, so let me get in front of it. Buxton. Before you tell me you can walk into a store this weekend and grab a Buxton for about $12, I know. It is right there at the checkout counter, and that is not proof of life. That is the body still warm. Buxton started in 1898 in Springfield, Massachusetts, a real leather company that ran for the better part of a century as a name that meant something in a man's pocket. Big enough in its day to be one of the larger leather houses in the country. Then it went through the machine we keep watching. Sold to Gillette in 1972. Handed to Beatrice in 1977. Passed around the corporate world like a business card. Each owner one more step removed from anyone who had ever cut a piece of leather. Somewhere in that shuffle, it even picked up the old DOP name. The World War II travel kit your grandfather called his DOP bag. One more heritage label floated from one corporate parent to the next like a poker chip. That is how these companies think about a name. It is a chip, not a promise. Where it landed is the whole point. Buxton today lives on the discount rack, the kind you find in the big box aisles and the department store clearance bins, made overseas across a handful of factories, priced to tell you precisely how much of the old company is left, which is the name and nothing else. If you need a cheap wallet and you buy one knowing exactly what it is, fine, nobody is coming for you. But do not tell yourself you bought into a 120-year heritage, because you bought a logo that a chain of holding companies kept breathing on the bet that a familiar name still moves product to people who never check the tag. The craftsmanship that built that name has been gone for decades. The sticker just never came off. If walking through this graveyard is doing something for you, subscribe, because I would rather you carry one name that still means something than a pocket full of tombstones. That is the whole reason this channel exists. Back to it. You watched number 3 grow up in every mall in America, and then you watched it vanish and probably never clocked that it was gone. Wilson's Leather. If you were shopping in the 90s or the 2000s, you knew exactly where the Wilsons was, usually a few doors down from the food court, wall-to-wall leather jackets and wallets and bags, that smell hitting you from the concourse. At its absolute peak in 2002, this company ran 763 stores and was about the biggest specialty leather retailer in the country. This was a giant, the place where a teenager bought his first real leather jacket and his dad grabbed a wallet on the way past. For a couple of decades, it was simply where America bought leather, the default stop for a jacket, a bag, a belt, or a billfold. Then the floor gave out, the business cratered, and in 2008, the whole thing came apart. The brand name, the online store, and a batch of the outlets got sold off to a New York apparel conglomerate called G3 for around $22 million, and the parent company left holding the bag changed its name, got kicked off the stock exchange, and liquidated its mall stores by the end of that year. The Wilsons you actually remember was dead right there. The new owner kept the name limping on a smaller footprint for a while, then around 2020 closed those stores too. What is left is a website, a logo licensed onto product, with none of the retail body that ever made it real. You never got a goodbye. The food court just had a different tenant one day. Number 2 has status, which is exactly why it stings, and it has been quietly turned inside out while everybody kept respecting the name. Coach. It started in a Manhattan workshop in 1941, and for a long stretch it was the real deal. The whole identity was glove-tanned leather, that supple hide that gets better with age, cut and stitched by hand in the United States. A Coach wallet, or a Coach bag from that era, was a genuine buy-it-for-life object, And if you own a vintage one, you already know, because it is probably still going strong in a drawer somewhere. There is a whole resale market built on this now. People hunt the pre-offshore Coach on the second-hand sites specifically because the old glove-tanned pieces outclass what the brand ships today. And they are voting with real money that the good Coach is the one that has not been made in 20 years. Then the brand got popular, and popular is where craftsmanship goes to die. Demand outran the workshop, and starting in the late 90s and rolling into the 2000s, the production moved offshore to China and the Philippines and Vietnam, and the character of the thing changed with it. The brand chased volume and outlet malls and all-over logo print, and today Coach sits inside a holding company called Tapestry, one label in a portfolio, run for the outlet as much as anything. I will give them this much. They still turn out a small run of higher-end pieces, and the leather is not garbage. But the Coach that earned the name, the Manhattan bench, the glove-tanned hide, the made-here billfold, is gone. I have an old one from before the move, and I have handled plenty of the new ones, and they are simply not the same animal wearing the same name. Coach also hands you the cleanest test on this whole list, so use it. Flip an old one open and find the creed, that little stamped patch of text inside the lining. The vintage ones tell you right there that they were made in New York, in the United States, with a serial number you can actually run down. The brand testifies against its own current self in its own stitching. The logo survived, the workshop did not. Which brings us to the one you are almost certainly convinced is completely fine, because it is everywhere, because you probably owned one, because there is no way a brand this visible could be dying right in front of you. Fossil. This was the wallet and the watch for an entire generation of guys. Your first real bifold, the one you got for a birthday in the tin it came in. I carried a Fossil bifold all through college and thought it was the height of grown-up. It was affordable, it was on every mall shelf, it was the default. And it is not doing well, and this is not a rumor, it is sitting in the company's own financial reports. In fiscal 2024, Fossil's revenue fell around 19% in a single year, a drop of more than $250 million, landing near $1.1 billion. Their leather segment specifically fell somewhere close to 30%. They are closing something like 50 stores a year, and in 2025 their operation over in the United Kingdom filed for bankruptcy protection, while the parent carries a stack of debt coming due. The reason underneath all of it is the thing on your wrist. Fossil's core was the traditional watch, and the smartwatch gutted it, the Apple Watch and the rest walking off with the exact customer Fossil owned. When the watch business fell, it dragged the leather down with it, because the wallets always rode shotgun with the watches on the same shelf. And there is one more thread that ties Fossil straight back to everything else you have heard tonight. For years its real engine was not even its own name. Fossil quietly became a licensing house, making and selling the watches for a rack of fashion labels you would recognize on site, renting out its own factory the same way these dead brands got their names rented out. Even that business is stalling now. This is a company in a slow-motion collapse, in real time, while the wallets sit there looking exactly the way they always did. That is why Fossil is number one. The other 6 died years ago, and the news only reached you tonight. Fossil is dying while you watch, and the display case will be the last to admit it. It is the purest version of the whole trick, everything looking normal right up until it isn't. So step back and look at all 7 together, because now the shape they share comes into focus. Almost none of these brands died of natural causes. They got processed. There is a machine in this industry and it runs the same play every time. Buy a heritage name that real people spent decades building, strip the cost out of making the thing by shipping the work overseas and dropping the standard. Then rent the name back to you stamped on cheaper product, betting everything on you seeing the familiar logo and never asking who owns it now. Swank ran that play on Prince Gardner. Tapestry runs it on Coach. Gillette and Beatrice ran Buxton through it. A New York conglomerate ran it on Wilson's, and private equity flipped Gurkha until it broke. The buyers change, the play does not. That is what actually killed these wallets. Not the leather, not the market, and not you for buying them. It was a business model that figured out a good name is worth more dead than alive, because a dead name does not argue when you cheapen it. And look how many different ways the same thing happened. Amity died on principle, holding the line until the line gave out under it. Prince Gardner got bought and pruned to nothing. Gurkha got flipped until it broke, then clawed its way back. Buxton got demoted to the checkout rack. Wilson's got liquidated down to a web address. Coach got absorbed and offshored. Fossil is bleeding out in plain sight. 7 brands, 7 different funerals, 1 machine. And do not file this away as a sad story about your dad's generation, because it is not finished with yours. The slim wallet names you carry right now, the ones you feel smart for buying, ride the same conveyor belt the second they get big enough to be worth buying. The founder takes the check, the outside money comes in. The work quietly moves, and in 10 years, somebody makes this exact video about the brand in your pocket today. The machine does not care that your wallet is aluminum instead of leather. It only cares that the name still sells. So here is what actually protects you, and it costs nothing. Turn the wallet over and read where it is really made today, not where the brand was born. Look up who owns the name now, because half the time it is a holding company you have never heard of, sitting on a dozen other dead names. And trust the resale test, because it never lies. When a decades-old wallet from a company that no longer exists gets carried harder and lasts longer than the new one wearing the same logo, the old maker was the brand and the new owner is just marketing. A living maker is the opposite of everything we just walked through. The founder still answers for it. It is made where the tag says, and when it finally wears out, they fix it instead of pointing you at the clearance bin. You can usually spot one in about 30 seconds, because it will tell you exactly where the leather is tanned and where the wallet is cut, since that is the part it is proud of, and it will hand you a repair address instead of just a returns policy. Read the maker, not the label. The industry will never say any of this for you. Nobody in this business runs the obituary or admits the standard is gone. They keep the logo lit, they restock the shelf, and they count on you having a short memory and a warm feeling about a name your dad trusted. So carry the short memory out of here and start looking closely. Tell me in the comments which of these you had no idea about and which one hit you the hardest. And if your grandfather carried one of these, or you have got a vintage one still riding your pocket right now, I genuinely want to hear about it, because that old wallet is the whole point.